Well, it looks like Peter Parker is no more. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In a turn of events, today we actually have news about Spider-Man 4 coming from Amy Pascal herself, confirming a huge plot point about Spider-Man 4 involving Peter Parker, but more Spider-Man. And I'll explain what that means in this video. But if you're not aware who Amy Pascal is, she is the former chairperson for Sony Pictures Entertainment. She was that until 2015, until she started her own production company, and now she produces all of the Spider-Man films. She has overseen the production and distribution of pretty much all the Spider-Man franchise, and she's really good friends with Kevin Feige. In fact, Kevin Feige is the one who convinced her to let Tom Holland go into the MCU, and for them, Sony, to not make The Amazing Spider-Man 3, in which she ultimately did agree. So we kind of have her to thank for Tom Holland's Spider-Man being in the MCU. Really, Kevin Feige for going to her and having the guts to say that, because reportedly she was super pissed at first before she agreed. But in a recent interview with Deadline, she talks about her life basically, but she also does reveal a major plot point for Spider-Man 4. Now, in this interview with Deadline, she actually starts off by saying that she has been working with Spider-Man for a very long time when she was head of the studio, and she was one of the people responsible for bringing the rights to Sony. So we kind of actually have her to blame for Marvel Studios not having the rights to Spider-Man. However, as she explains, at that time, Marvel wasn't really making movies. Not the MCU at least. She says, Marvel didn't exist as a movie company back then, lucky for me. But unfortunately and unlucky for all of us now. I wouldn't take away the Tobey and Andrew Spider-Man movies, but we are kind of boned now. But she basically does confirm that we're gonna get a ton of more Spider-Man movies. She says that was all the way back in 2000 when they got the rights. And the interviewer says, now you're doing the next one. And Amy Pascal responded with, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Which comes as little to no surprise. They're always going to continue to make Spider-Man movies. I mean, they have a whole universe right now that is based off of Spider-Man that doesn't have Spider-Man in it. But if from what we've been told is true, Tom Holland has 3 more solo Spider-Man films left in his contract, in which I'm sure Miles Morales will then come in and take over and be the new Spider-Man, and we'll just continue to get Spider-Man movies. But then she says, so now we're starting to shoot the next Spider-Man movie with Destin Daniel Cretton directing, so that's confirmed. It was confirmed before, but it's nice to get an official confirmation from Sony. Now, the person interviewing Pascal said, I thought No Way Home was kind of a perfect way to end it, but that's not why I'm a producer. And this is where Amy Pascal talks about the plot of Spider-Man 4. She says, well, we have to deal with the fact that he, referring to Spider-Man / Peter Parker, decided that he is going to give up being Peter Parker. He's going to focus on being Spider-Man because being Peter Parker is too hard. So that's what the movie is about. That's what she said. So she basically gave us kind of the whole premise, at least for the beginning of the film, and this does pick up right where No Way Home left off. And right away, I'll just say that this does make just a ton of sense, because nobody knows who Peter Parker is right now. Not MJ, Ned, Happy doesn't know, none of the Avengers know. As always, I'll remind you that of course they still know who Spider-Man is, but they don't know that Spider-Man is a kid called Peter Parker. They won't know his identity, they'll just know the superhero Spider-Man. The same goes with everything else, with everybody else. Everybody still remembers Spider-Man, and just like we saw at the end of the film, J. Jonah Jameson, is still making Spider-Man out to be a menace, a criminal. But they make it very clear, and JJJ says this, they don't know his identity. So in Spider-Man 4, since nobody remembers who Peter Parker is, it looks like in the beginning of the movie, he's just going to decide, okay, well, I'm just going to be Spider-Man. I'm not going to have a personal life, because when I do have a personal life and people get involved with my life, they get put in danger. MJ and Ned have been in danger a lot. MJ fell, and if it wasn't for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man redeeming himself, catching her, she would have died. Plus, he actually heard Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man talk about how he lost Gwen. He lost his MJ, is what he specifically said to her. So it sounds like Peter Parker has basically thought about all of this, and instead of trying to do anything to try and get people to remember who he was, remember at the end of No Way Home, he was going to go up to MJ and try to explain everything. Instead of doing that, he has decided to basically leave everybody alone and simply be Spider-Man, be a hero. And this was a plot leak that was reported before, so kudos to the scooper who reported this, but also at the same time, this does explain why we've heard so many different villains are going to be appearing in this movie. Now, the film is seemingly going to be pretty different than what it was originally going to be, with Kingpin and it being street level and grounded, and maybe Daredevil. You've probably heard it all by now, but the fact that it's taking place right in the middle of Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars means it pretty much has to be multiversal for a decent amount of the movie. However, this would explain how many villains appear probably in the beginning of the movie. We've heard the Fantastic Four kind of going to have a scene that's going to be a montage of them fighting many villains in the beginning of the movie. We're probably going to get something very similar with that with Spider-Man 4. A scene showing that Peter Parker is no more and he is just being Spider-Man now, and Spider-Man is kicking butt. He's cleaning up the city while at the same time still running from the cops. Maybe we'll even see Peter Parker work for the Daily Bugle. Who knows? He is giving up being Peter Parker, but he still has to pay rent. He has nobody now. Nobody can help him, which is rather unfortunate because I kind of feel like Happy Hogan and Pepper Potts, if they knew everything that happened, they would for sure give him some money or at least buy him a place or do something. They'd take care of him. They'd definitely give him a job. So he is actively choosing not to go that route because he probably could do that. There's probably a way that the spell could be broken, and I'm assuming that at some point in time in the movie, or at least with Secret Wars, the spell will be broken. But I'm imagining a lot of villains do show up in this movie, which is what we've heard Sony wants. Plus, they do want a big multiversal film, which it sounds like they're going to get their wishes on that as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew and Tobey returned, especially since Andrew Garfield and Ryan Reynolds just interviewed each other for Variety's Actors on Actors. That's a great interview. I reacted to the whole thing, at least all the Marvel parts. You can check out that video. But one more thing I'd like to talk about is Black Cat. Peter Parker is gone, but Black Cat can still arrive. If they still want Peter Parker to have a romantic interest in the film and spice it up a little bit, because we know that Zendaya is returning for this, MJ is going to be in the film, so if they want to spice it up a little bit, they could have Black Cat be Peter Parker's new love interest. We've heard rumors that this is going to happen. It is not confirmed, but we've heard some rumors from some scoopers that Marvel wants Black Cat in the film. And it would make sense considering Peter Parker is going to be no more, because Black Cat, or Felicia Hardy, runs into Spider-Man while attempting to free her dying father from prison. And although she kind of is bad and then turns good, and she kind of has superpowers and they get taken away and she gets them again, in the MCU for Spider-Man 4, they could have a relationship where she doesn't know who Peter Parker is. She could see his face, but he doesn't tell her name. So it's simply kind of just like a super relationship. It's not Peter Parker and Felicia Hardy, it is Spider-Man and Black Cat. At least until MJ comes back into the equation, because I'm sure Peter Parker, although he's no more, will come back, and I think MJ might be a big part of Peter Parker returning, so to speak. And I do think it's an interesting idea. We haven't seen this on screen before. What we've seen is actually the opposite with Tobey Maguire. We've seen Peter Parker be done being Spider-Man. This is the opposite. This is Spider-Man being done with being Peter Parker. He's just going to be a crime-fighting superhero, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Who is going to be the villain of this remains a mystery at this point in time. Maybe Kingpin is involved still in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's going to be Null. Maybe Venom makes an appearance. These are all rumors that we've heard. Or perhaps they bring in Dr. Doom. We'll have to wait and see on those reports, but one report that has been confirmed is that Peter Parker will be no more. We'll just have Spider-Man for, I'm gonna say, 90% of the movie, which I think is going to be very interesting. Hopefully they nail it. They knock it out of the park. They've done great so far, but go ahead. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Is this something that interests you? Will you like this story, or would you like it to go a different way? And who would you like to see play the villain? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU news, rumors, or leaks. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.